can go to canva.com if you're on your laptop. I want you guys to open Canva right now, because as I'm giving you the theory, I want you guys to try to do it in practice as well, right? So in Canva, I really, when it comes to designing, whether it's posters or videos or website or social media, I use Canva because it's easy for me to replicate a lot of, so for example, if I want to do a poster or social media, it's easy for me to just find a template and do it really fast compared to if I open my Adobe Illustrator, right? So for presentation, it's easy. You can see there's a search bar on the home page. You just type in presentation, and then they'll list down the things that when you list down presentation, it will scroll down the choices that you can choose, the size and everything. So basically for presentation, it's all the same. It's whether you want a bigger, high quality punya size or smaller. So usually I would just choose the 1980, right? So choose that one. So I'm gonna share my Google so that it's easier. Okay. So here on Canva, on your home page, you can just search presentation. Then see, you can just click here, the 19201080. So automatically it gives you a presentation slides. So before anything, right, it will come out like this size, right? So first and foremost, find a relevant template, right? Find a relevant template. So at the right side of the bar, you can see designs. You click on designs and then choose a template based on the subjects that is most relevant to the template, right? So for example, if you want to talk about technology, then search for technology. If you want to talk about nutrition, then you search about nutrition. If you want to talk about mathematics, then you search about mathematics. So then there's a lot of choices of templates. Pick the one that catches your eyes, that you find most interesting to deliver to your audience. Now, once you find the template, you need to customize it. So this is where the basic knowledge of designing helps. Once you choose the template, the next thing you need to do is choose your color code. Now, whenever you create a slide or you create any design, whether it's posters, so this applies to any design. Make sure you choose your color code. Whenever you move the cursor, the code changes, right? So down there, the hashtag numbers, and then there's an alphabet there. So that is the color code. So the color code is universal, and you need to choose maximum 3 color codes. Do not use more than 3 color codes. So these 3 color codes, you'll be using it over and over and over again throughout your slides. Why do you need maximum 3 color codes? This is so that you will come out with a more cleaner design. You don't want to have too many colors because it will be distracting. Especially if you want to put a lot of pictures, then there's so many colors in the background, the font have different colors. Try to avoid too many colors, all right? Maximum color codes that you can choose is 3. So for example, right, when I design Cikgu Plus, I use the logo is colored blue, right? Then I use another color, yellow, to represent branding, to to make it more so that people can easily remember you. So I choose these 2 color code throughout the slides, because when you have all the same color, the same shade, so this is very important in designing. Even if you guys want to create a business, right? If this is not for slides, if you want to create a business, you want to create a brand, a product, this is important as well. You need to first find the 3 colors or 2 colors for your main personality of that certain project. So for your slides, for example, you want to color code it differently by form. Form 1, you use pink, for example. Form 1, use pink and blue. Form 2, the slides is going to be yellow and orange. So throughout all the slides, you just use the same color, right? So this is very important. 3 color codes. Just because you use a lighter blue or a darker blue, it's still considered as a different color code. It's not the same blue, all right? Now, if you are going to create a slide, right? Maximum is 4 colors. If you already choose that 3 colors, you already have your main 3 color codes with you that I said just now. So in a slide, do not use more than 4 color codes. My line is a bit slow. So basically at the sidebar, there's a brand kit. Yeah, the brand kit. So in the brand kit, you can save your color code. Right? You can save your logo, you can save your color code here. You can even set the fonts that you'll be using throughout the slides. You can use the same fonts. This is important as well. We'll go to the font slides after this, but just to show you guys, on the brand kit, you can save your fonts, and you can also save your color codes. All right. So for example, here for youth benches, I choose 3 colors with an extra 1 white color in case I want to use as a background, or I want to, I want to play around. So it's a neutral color. It doesn't, cover the, it doesn't, how do you call it? It doesn't overpower the main color that you have. And I'm gonna just repeat on the 4 color codes. Once you chose the 4 color codes in your design, if you've chosen the 3 main color codes and you want to use the 4th color, make sure it's neutral and it doesn't overpower your main color if you want to use extra. And it should not exceed 10% of the main color, because you don't want it to overpower the main color that you're having, right? So what I meant by not having too much color is this. We don't want to have too many colors in one slide, because, for example, this slide, it has a lot of words and there's a picture and in the background, and there's a lot of colors. So there's a lot of things going around this one slide. So we want to reduce that. We want to deliver the message more clearer. So how do we do that? We, like I said, again, use the 2-3 colors that you've chosen. And then if you want to put like pictures to represent the topic that you're talking about, you can just use icons. So for example, this is what I've created based on the previous slide. So you can come up with, once you have the color, the main color, it's easier for you to deliver your message clearly. It's more cleaner. It's easier to read. The designs at the back doesn't distract the information that you're trying to deliver, right? So that is why you need to really reduce your color. You need to choose your maximum 3 color codes. You can use 2 like I use with Cikgu Plus, or you can use 3 maximum. So this is the reason why we don't want too many colors, because too many colors are distracting and it doesn't deliver the message to the audience clear enough, right? So why you need to have a very infographic slides, a very clean slides, is because you want to be able to teach, you want to be able to explain your information, but at the same time, you want them to anchor their interest on the slides. They don't need to, read all the paragraph. They don't need all these pictures trying to distract what they're trying to read. So these are the things, these are the first rule that you need to follow. Do not choose more than 3 colors. On text and fonts, do not use more than 2 fonts. Never use more than 2 fonts. If you want to use a 3rd font, right? You want to represent certain things. So you want to use a 3rd font, you can, but you need to use the font from the same family tree. What do I mean by from the same family tree? For example, if you are using Times New Roman, you can just play around with bold, italic, or underline, right? Just play around with that. Do not choose more than 2 fonts. You can choose 1 unique font for the title, right? If you want it to be cursive, use it just on the title. Never use cursive, tulisan berangkai for your description. Use a simple font. On slides, if you can see on the slides that I designed, I don't use fancy fonts as much. I don't use it at all because I want people to understand the information that I'm trying to deliver. So does this apply in poster making as well? Yes, it applies in all designs. Whether you're making websites, again, I'm going to tell you this. These are the basics elements you need for designing. Whether you're designing posters, whether you're designing slides, idea deck, or you're designing a website or social media, do not use more than 2 fonts. It's like a no rule in designing because you want a clean design. You don't want to have so many fonts because it will also distract the audience who is trying to read your design. You want to deliver the message directly to the students or to the audience so that they will remember. If there's too many fonts, there's too many distractions inside your design, it's hard for people to digest the information, right? So make your design clean by not using more than 3 colors and not using more than 2 fonts. Don't be too fancy by using too many fonts. It will only create a distracting design, right? Especially on presentation or slides.
What about the font size? If it's the same font, but it's a different size because of the slide, sometimes it's the layout issue.
All right. So that after this, I will explain on the sizes. So if you have problems with sizes, you can just use the templates that Canva already gave. So if you click on the sidebar, there's text, right? You want to add text, and that's add a heading, add a subheading, and add a little body text. So add a heading, usually we use it for the titles. For this slide, for example, the text templates, you see the text template punya title. So that I use that is called the heading. So for heading, it needs to be bold, it needs to be big. So after this, I'm going to show you on how you can deliver your fonts with your icons at the same time, how you should susun everything. So these are the examples how you can play around with your fonts. First, if you want to put a picture in the background with a font, it's best to blur the picture, right? So I'm going to show you an example. If you want to write with a picture at the background, make sure the background is blurred. Why do I say it needs to be blurred? Because you want them to focus on your writing. If it's not blurred, it's a bit hard for people to read your text. So this is your text, for example. How are you going to make this picture blur? Click on edit photo. You can adjust the photo here, the contrast, the brightness. So usually I like to reduce the brightness so that it enhances more on the text. See, you can read the text even better. And then I like to blur the photo a little bit. Right? So it's easier for people to focus on the text. And then I like to add border. You can add border if you want. If not, it's also okay. But usually, if you want to focus on the center text, you want to focus create a focus, then you can add a border. How do you add a border? You click on elements. Just find a square shape. Click on the square shape. So here, this is a solid square, right? This is a solid rectangle, right? So how are you going to make it? How are you going to turn it into a border? So in Canva, what you do is you click on the lines, you choose line, and then on the color, the background color, you click no color. It will appear no color here. So automatically it became a border, right? If you want to change your border color, then just change here. So you have a border. That's how you create a border in Canva. So it's the same for circle. If you're using circle, you just play around with, this is the background color and this is the line. If you don't want the line, or you want the line to be thicker, you can just adjust the width here. Right? So that is on text. Oops. So that is if you want a background as your, if you want an image as your background. If you want a plain color, you can just play around with the color codes that you choose. Then you can design it like this. Or like just now, Florence asked regarding which size needs to be bigger. So if you want to do it like this, we want to play around with small size and big size. Usually the big size is the word that you want to enhance, the word that you want to highlight, right? And then the smaller one is the subheading or something that is the extra to the highlight word. So that is how you play around with your size. Which one do you want to highlight the most? You make it bigger. So for example, if you want to highlight a percentage, 98% of women, then the 98% should be very big. Of women, small, right? So this is an example of a slide with so many colors. Why I want you to choose a specific color code is so that you could avoid using gradient too much. So I see that there's a lot of people when they create slides, they like to put pictures at the back and create boxes that are gradients. It's not that it's not okay, but too many colors, again, I'm gonna say it's distracting. So how did I change from this to this? So again, I choose only maximum 3 colors. And then the fourth color is white, right? So these are one of the example. When I said, when you want to use big words to explain a certain things, the highlighted one is the biggest one. So instead of having so many words, you can deliver it visually by explaining uni means satu, like very big. You don't need to put it in words. Uni bermaksud satu. Bermaksud, you can just change it into a symbol of sama dengan, right? Play around with symbols, deliver your message as simple as possible. So for here, I put around icons, you know, that this is the biggest, and I bold this one. This is the biggest font that I use. And then down here, this is just to see, I use a different color because I want to differentiate between unicell and multicell. So this one, I put it here because this is what differentiate them the most, right? And then down here is the extra information for the highlighted topic. And then down here, I put some icons. Okay, the difference with this icon, these pictures, and this icons, it is more synchronized, right? The theme is the same. So it's easier for the students, for your audience to differentiate and grasp the information. So as of now, do you have any questions on colors and fonts on how you can use your? Try to make it as infographic as possible. So again, like I said, try to avoid making paragraph. Once you see your slide filled with words, then you know that there is something wrong with your slide, right? Try to make it as infographic as possible. So how do you do this? How do you make it infographic? So you play with icons. Infographic means a collection of imagery, data visualization, such as pie charts, graph, icons. So icons in Canva, right? You can change the color codes for your icons. Again, I'm going to show you an example. So here is one of the ways how you can deliver your message. Choose an icon. For example, I choose a notebook. On the sidebar, you can find elements. You search for notebook, for example. And then you choose an icon that you can change its colors. Usually in Canva, if it's 1 or 2 colors, or sometimes more, they can change colors based on here. It will appear, you will see the color button will appear. So you can just change it in your color codes, right? So choose your icon, and then below your icon is the heading, the title of your icon. What is the anchor word, the keyword that represent the icon, so that once your students see it, oh, okay, they understand what you're talking about without having to read everything. Even if they don't read the subheading, still they get the gist of what you're trying to explain in front of them, right? So icon, heading, subheading. That is how I usually deliver my infographic message. So if you can search a lot of icons here in Canva. There's a premium one, but there's a lot of other free icons that you can use, because even when I was using the free version, there's a lot of icons that you can use. And nowadays, I'm going to show you. Someone created a cheat code to find icons on Canva. So this is very important. So I want you to go to canvakeywords.com. So once you go to Canva keywords, this is very important because these are all the icons, the hidden icons that you can find in Canva. You can just filter free icons, all the ones that you see on my slides here. It's very interesting, right? The drawing here, it's free. And when you just click the check it out button, it will immediately go to your Canva bag. So Canva keywords is, if you can't find your icons on the search bar on Canva, you can just go to this website to find all these cool icons, cool drawings that you can use. Right. So this is very helpful because this is what makes my slides look premium despite that it's free, right? Don't worry, I'm going to show you all the free ways on creating your slides or your designs. I feel you don't want to, I feel you when you don't want to pay for pro, but if you are thinking about doing this further, like doing this as a business, I suggest you to pay for pro because the designs, it's easier for you to design. It's somehow like AI, but simplified, right? Okay, so have you guys saved this website, canvakeywords.com? So this is very important if you want to find the hidden gems. Now, other than Canva, if you still cannot find the icon that you wanted, for example, you wanted the COVID icon, but it's not in Canva, or you need to pay in Canva. So what you need to do is you go to flaticon.com. So flaticon.com, there's a lot of other creative icons available for you to use, and it's free, and you can even edit the icon before you save, change it into your color code. So that is why I said your color code is very, very important. How much is the paid version for Pro? So the paid version for Pro, I'm not sure. You have to check back. You have to check the pricing. I'm not sure about the Pro, but it's not as expensive as AI. And you can play around with a lot more features. For example, drawings. If you have Pro, you can even do drawings inside Canva. Right? So if you still cannot find your icons in Canva, despite that you've tried to search on the hidden gem website just now that I showed, go to Flaticon, right? It's important for you to save your color code. See, even at flat icon, if you want to edit your icon, you can just change the color code here. The color code is universal, whether you're using PowerPoint, whether you're using AI, whether you're using any kind of designing platform. If you see that you can choose a color code or you can insert a color code, the color code is going to be the same, right? It's not going to change. It's universal. So you don't have to worry about that. So hence why your color code is very important. Now, these are the slides that I showed you just now. So it's very boring. It doesn't really grasp the interests of your student. Yes, it's by point, but it's not, there's still too many words going on here. So I put a little bit of pictures, and at the background, I transparent it a bit. So if you want to create a bit, what do you call it? If you want to reduce the opacity at the back, the transparency, let me just show you. So you click on the icon, you see this grid button up here. So this grid button, the transparency, you click here, you can play around with the transparency, right? So I highlighted the title, I bold the title, like Joanne said, and put a little bit of icons. And then below the icon is what represents the icon. So this is more clearer for the students. Isn't it clearer for even for you guys to understand what the slides are trying to deliver? It's easier, right? So that is why choosing your colors, playing around with icons is very important, and choosing your fonts to be not more than 2 is very important. So for example, the title here, I use leaks pattern, right? Then other here, all this, other than the title, I use glacial. I just play around with bold, underline, and yeah, I just play around with bold and underline. And then I put a border here just to highlight this information. Okay. Now, if you want to tell a story, if you want to talk about timeline, if you want to talk about history, please use timeline graphics. Use timeline graphics to tell your story. Because if you just copy paste, for example, the biography I showed you earlier, you just copy paste the whole paragraph, your audience would not have the time to read it, because at the same time, they have to listen to you talking. So how can they read at the same time? Even if they're trying to read, it's hard for them to grasp the meaning behind the message you're trying to share. So instead of putting a paragraph, put a timeline, pick a layout timeline. Again, at the sidebar, at the elements, there's a search bar. You just search for timeline. Here, you just search for timeline. And then there'll come out a lot of graphics for timeline that you can use, right? Choose any layout, and then you can create your framework. This you can show, if you want to talk about, even if you want to talk about process, you don't give paragraph, you show arrows, right? So play around with all the elements here in Canva. There's a lot of things that you can use to deliver your information. So once you choose your timeline layout, then you can just put the date, the text, the image, if you want the icons. So for example, like this slide, this is the usual slides. When I was a student, I got so frustrated seeing slides like this because it's really hard for me to read. I'm a visual person, right? when you are dealing with students or you're dealing with an audience, it's important to know what kind of audience are you dealing with. So usually 80% of the crowd are visual people who are attracted to visuals and can understand more with visuals representation. Hence why infographic exists, right? So only 10 to 20% of people are audio or maybe practical, kinesthetic. So we want to grasp this majority of the attention, which is the visual people. So for visual people like me, for me to read a history and for me to receive a slide like this and having to hear my lecturer explain about this guy, it's hard for me to digest the information because it's using too many words sometimes, and then there's too many numbers here. There's too many information going on. It's hard for me to remember each and every one. So how would I do this? I put a picture of the person at the side, the name of the person, what did he do as a subheading. And then if you want to do a different timeline, a career timeline, a career background timeline, or a different timeline, you can just put a background. If you want to play around with background like me, background behind text, click on your text, you click on effects, and then there's a background here. So you can choose your background and what color you want to choose for your background. You can adjust the roundness. You can adjust the spread, how big. So explain it in a timeline. And when you explain in your timeline, you don't just put all words. As you can see, I don't use the same font like this one. They use the same font. There's no bold, there's no underline. You don't know which is which. It's hard for you to grasp the information, right? So for this slide, I use the timeline layout here. And then for the year, I bold the year because it's easier to differentiate. And then in the explanation of the year, I highlighted only the keywords. Sorry, I highlighted only the keywords because you want this to be the anchor of your audience interest, because you'll be explaining who Louis de Broglie is, right? Who this French physicist is. So you're gonna be like blabbering about he have a school here, at this year, blah, 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 blah. While you are blah, blah, blahing, your student can immediately understand what you're trying to tell here, because it's simple, it's direct, the keywords is easy to read, right? So this is how you deliver a timeline, a storyline. Whether you want to talk about, usually I use this for timeline to represent a time, but if you want to talk about process, then you use arrows. So the point here is use the element side as much as you can. So now, I'm gonna teach you and something, a little bit extra features on what you need to know on Canva. So if you have Canva Pro, you can remove your background. If you want to remove the background photo like this, you can immediately remove the background in Canva if you have Pro. But if you don't have Pro, you don't have to worry, because you can go to remove.bg. So right now, I want you guys to open a new tab and go to remove.bg. So this is one of the website that you have to save as well, because it really helps. Despite that right now I am using AI for my design, I also remove my background here because it's free. I don't need to open my Photoshop, and it really detects your background and it can remove it completely. You can also, if there's a certain part that you don't want it to be removed, you can just edit it after you upload, right? So save this website, remove.bg. It's important because if you can't find any icons on all of the platforms that I've given you just now, you can just take any picture, any that has a background, you can just remove it here. So after this, I'll show you an example. So we saw this slide just now, right? So as you can see, for all the icons below, it kind of looks similar. So I can't actually find the specific icons for amoeba in all of the platforms that I've given to you just now. Like all these cells, it's hard for me to find this this, what do you call it, these icons, these pictures. But at the same time, I want it to look nice. I want it to look the same, synchronized. Everything is clean. It's easy for people to understand. So actually, the original pictures are like this. I got this from Google, and then I upload it on remove.bg. So it removes the white background at the back. So, but as for this one, the right one, the one at my right, yang macam kumbang tu. So that one, it's a bit hard for me because it became transparent. I wanted it to have a little bit of white in the middle. So at remove.bg, like I said, after they remove your background, if there are some parts that you don't like or you like, you can just restore or erase, right? So you can go to that website and explore more. So these are the examples how I use if I can't find any icons that I want. I just go to Google, I find an image that are similar or an image that can that a good image, but you know, it has a background. You just want the drawings, you can just go to remove.bg. So this applies to even if you want to create your, you know, what do you call it? License photo or passport photo. You can just take your picture, self-timer at a background, a plain background, your wall, any wall at your house, and then you just upload it at remove.bg. And then you go to Canva, you just change the background. If passport, you need to have like what, white or blue or yellow, I don't know. So you can change the color of the background. So that is how I created my first passport photo, right? When I didn't have time to go to the studio. So remove.bg is very important. So that is how I got all these icons. This is all from Google image. I just remove the background. So all the slides that you see on that I presented to you today, I created it from scratch from all the tricks and tips that I've given to you just now. If you apply all these rules and you apply all these tricks, you can create a very infographic slides that is easy for the students to digest the information. So that is how I play around if I can't find any icons. Now, this is just an extra, right? If you want to create a poster and you want to put a face on it, but you don't, but somehow the picture doesn't blend well with the background, you want to create it into a sticker, right? You want to have that outline, make it like a sticker so it looks more cute and, you know, can make your slides lagi. It doesn't look cheap. Get what I mean? So how do you create this sticker? If you have like, kalau you nak letak gambar ke apa kan, you just put the outline so it looks more cleaner. So how do you do this on Canva is, you just click on the image, you click edit image, at the side, there's a button shadows, right? If you click on the shadows, there's outline. So if you click on the outline, you can adjust the size and angle and everything. You can just, it's the outline, it won't have the outline choice. You need to go to glow or drop. I usually go to glow and then there's choices that you can play around so that it became an outline. So if you have a previous interface and you are confused, do let me know. So now in Canva, it's easy for you to create tables. Like I showed you just now, the tables of detergent. So I created that using tables from Canva. They already provide you all these templates. You just need to fill in. All the features are actually there. So how are you going to know the features are there? When you click on any tables that you want, right? You go to elements, you scroll down, right? You go to elements, you scroll down until you see tables. Then you click see all. Then there's a bunch of choices of tables for you. When you click on the table, there's a plus button, and then there's the 3-dot button on the horizontal and on the side. If you can't see it, try to move your cursor on the table, then it will appear, right? If you want to add another column, it's the plus sign at the top. If you want to add another row, it's the plus sign on the side. Right. For the 3 dots button, just click there, and this is all the features that you can use for your tables. You can merge your cells, you can delete your rows, you can delete your column, right? You can move your column left or right, or you want to move your row up or down. So you just click on this button. So here you can adjust the size and you can immediately put the text inside these tables. So I'm going to show you. All right, this slide. So this is a table that I choose from here. See, when you scroll down here, you can see the tables. You click see all. These are the various tables that they have. You can choose any design you want. So here, you can change the color if you want it to be solid background. You can change the color here. So all of the features are also up here. If you want to change the text color. So you don't need to add more text. You just click on the table. Immediately you can type your words there, right? So I'm going to show you. For example, just click there, see? The typing. You can immediately just put your words here. You don't need to add more text. Just double click on each box to insert your words. So do you guys have any question on creating the tables? All right. So we want to avoid tables like this. Avoid, if you want to use red or orange, try avoid using from the same shade. It's a bit hard for you to read, right? So this is why I said try avoiding use gradient colors. This is a bad example of creating a table. It's hard for you to read. It's hard for you to differentiate what it's trying to deliver. You don't know which is the important highlights of the information. Present your data with charts. So above tables, if you saw just now, there's charts as well. So in Canva, you don't need to create your chart manually. And I'm begging you, please do not copy paste, do not screenshot. If you want to share articles or data, please do not screenshot from the sources. Please create your own graph, your own statistic, because it's important for you to represent your information clearly. If you just screenshot it, it's not like I said, if there's too many colors, if you screenshot immediately, the color will not be the same as your slide, right? So avoid doing that. You need to create your charts. So how do you do this? There's a lot of information, infographic charts, pie charts. There's a lot of designs going on here. You just choose any charts that you want that resembles the most, that can present your data and information. And then immediately on the sidebar, the things that you need to fill in for your charts, you can just replace all these words. Item 1, you change it to, for example, apple. Item 2, banana. Item 3, orange, right? So, and then this is the percentage. And then once you fill in this table that appear at the sidebar, the design will automatically change on your slides. So even the colors, you can change the colors of your pie charts or your charts or your, what do you call it? Infographic charts, bar charts, any charts that is on Canva, you can customize it. This is just an extra information for you guys. If you guys want to create a QR code, you can create a QR code on Canva, but on Canva, you can only create a normal black QR code. So if you want to create a very QR code that represent the color of your slides or your posters, you can just go to QR code monkey. This is one of the platform that you can use. It's free. You can customize your QR code. You can put your logo there. You can put your image. You can custom any colors based on the color codes that you've selected earlier, right? So save QR code monkey. You can just Google qrcodemonkey.com immediately. It will go to the website. So this is important as well because, you know, if you want to put your contact on your slides for your students to contact you or ask you questions of feedback forms or fill in any forms, links, you can just create a QR code for your students so that it's easier, because nowadays everyone has smartphones with them. So that is how you want to create a creative QR code. So here are the examples of infographic posters. So the first one, I wanted to explain on how you can get help, right? If you want to get checked for your mental health. So how can you get help from the from whether it's from government hospitals, private hospitals? So the process, even the process, I don't just add arrows, I put icons as well. And beside the icon or below the icon, I will put a highlighted heading. And then down there, baru I put the subheading, right? So for the next posters, as you can see, instead of doing charts, I put women icons as I put women icons to represent my data, right? I don't simply copy paste it from an article, despite that I got this information from a certain article. I didn't screenshot it and put it here. I create my own charts. So if you go to the elements at the sidebar, you see the charts choices. There is infographic charts where you can play around with genders, or you can play around with icons there. Or if you want to talk about the percentage of apples or nutrition, you can play around with, apples icons or carrots icons. How many, if the 80%, then you put the 80% different color. So these are the example how I play with my charts. So as you can see, I put 80% and 20% bigger than the other, because you want them, once you lay your eyes there, oh, it's talking about a woman, this is 80%, this is 20%. You can see the difference immediately, what it's trying to deliver, right? So this is an example of a poster. So down here in the middle, if you can see, empathize, discuss, and pitch. I put the icon, and then the heading, and then the subheading, right? Oops, sorry. So for the pink one, the below one, as you can see, I didn't put heading, I just immediately explain. So you can play around with how you want to deliver your icons. So for Rekascape here, the last poster, as you can see, icons, headings, subheading. So you just play around with your colors, whether it's green and blue or yellow and red, it's up to you.